on retirement. A friend of mine who was approaching retirement used to joke that retirement was for a younger man. And I imagine what he meant was that retirement is pretty exhausting, and he was now too old to retire. Typical sort of English paradox. And another joke which I particularly liked, which makes the same point really, an elderly Oxbridge academic asked what he felt now he was in retirement, and he thought for a while and said, it's all right, but I do miss the sabbaticals. Sabbatical being the 7th term when you had leave from your university job and you could go off and do something different and write and so on. And you could, of course, say, what a ridiculous remark, because, of course, you're entirely on sabbatical. You're not doing your normal job. But the point in that and the other one is that one of the dangers and temptations, as I've seen it with my friends of retirement, is that you now have, and often you retire some people take early retirement, in my profession at 60 or certainly 65, 67, and you've got another 20 years or 30 years, and there are no obvious distractions. The things which gave you variety and a rest from intense thinking which goes into research and writing, such as teaching or administration, these things aren't there. Committee meetings were ideal as a break from really heavy thought, because you sat there listening to other people and occasionally interjecting, but it was quite relaxing in a way, and teaching was a variation. So what do you do in retirement? And I personally have had a wonderful retirement. I retired at 67 and I'm now 12 years into it, and it has been the most productive and enjoyable part of my life. It has nothing to do with stopping work, as people often point out. I work the same sort of hours and in the same intensity, perhaps a little less now I'm getting elderly, than I did, and I don't rush around as much as I did. But I work in the sense of thinking, writing, reading, talking, interviewing people, travelling, in the same sorts of patterns, but I can devote myself entirely to the things that I want to do and which give me most pleasure, which is creative work of that kind. And the stressful aspects of administration and teaching are absent. So in terms of what I do, it's been entirely pleasant. And in terms of creativity, through good fortune, through friendships, through travel, and through having started various projects which just around the time I was retiring, I've been able to fill my retirement with things which mean that I wake up in the morning thinking, another day to do so-and-so. That's a sign of happiness in my world, that you wake up looking forward to the day and what you might discover and achieve during it. So one key, as I've mentioned, is before you retire, to think about what would be interesting to do during retirement. It can't be the same thing, but it can be a development, extension of certain other things. In my case, I decided that I would start my autobiography, which many retired people do, just to sort of look back and defragment your life. And what started as a small project to look at my life, the usual thin volume of what I remember kind, because of various advances in publishing, because of the fact that I kept almost all my writing and other objects from the age of about 15. Because of those things, I was able to do a new kind of autobiography. I have now reached 10 volumes of my autobiography on my normal life, and I'm doing other volumes now, analysing the social history that I've written. Now that's a bit extreme. Most people wouldn't want to do that or couldn't do it because they didn't have the materials. But there are many other kinds of projects. So I've found that having a large, ambitious project, another in my case was to develop my understanding of China, which had begun some years before I retired, but retirement gave me a chance to go to China every year and to spend time with young Chinese to set up projects between China and the West, and that has been an enormous source of interest, amusement, good food, good company, and a lovely retirement project. So I don't look on retirement as a disaster or the end of things. We in the West, if you are fairly healthy, have the possibility of a long, fruitful retirement. And when I look around at my friends, many of them do that, though some of them go into some sort of decline because the purpose of their life, whatever their job was, is no longer there. And so they just try and fill their life up with smaller things, crossword puzzles or exercising the dog or whatever. I would never really be satisfied with that because I'm constitutionally a workaholic, and so I need to be active in some way or other. But I can be active just sitting at my desk with these books behind me, treasures all round me, and through retirement you can go down many new paths and explore new worlds, parallel worlds, and make new friendships. That's one of the things that tends to happen in retirement, that your old friends that you grew up with and were at school with and taught and so on disappear and die and move away. And I've been very fortunate in being able to refresh my pool of friends through travel and through the internet and even through Zoom. So retirement has been a very rich period, both for myself and for Sarah, who has had some wonderful academic projects, editing documents and pursuing things that interest her. So long live retirement.